got everything set up here. We got 2019.1.2 now. Let's make sure that I'm up and running before I get started. Also, I have some old requests that I'm going to be going over today. So let's see.
You guys ever heard of a dolphin?
So this one right here, basically doing a pair of lips and then a skull with a crown on it. So I'm going to go ahead and embiggen this image so I can see it a little bit better. And we'll get cracking on that, assuming that, there I go. Okay, so, and of course I got the chat up if you guys have any questions while I'm going through this. So, first we'll start with the skull with the crown on it. That should be pretty easy. If you hit the comma key, oops, first go into ZBrush here, hit the comma key so we can hit up Lightbox here. We're going to go into the tool menu, and there is a Ryan Kingsline anatomy model. We're just going to steal a skull from that. So we're going to load that up here. And it seemed like last night during my CGMA class and today, my computer seems to be running really slow. I don't know exactly why. It's a little concerning to me. Hopefully it's not too bad. Yeah, there's something weird going on. But if we go in here and we have the skeleton selector, hold down Shift and turn off the eyeball. I'm just going to steal this skull here. So we're going to hold down Control Shift again, go in here to select lasso, grab all of these pieces here, do Control Shift A to grow visible. If you grab too much, say you grabbed and like you just grabbed a little bit of that vertebrae and did Control Shift A, since these are all one polygroup right now, you could go into your polygroup menu under your tools and go to auto groups, and that'll go ahead and group everything. It's going to make all your teeth a separate polygroup as well. You can also hold down Control Shift and then Alt, get rid of the little pieces of the vertebrae, Control Shift Alt to drag, Control Shift A, Control Shift drag again, and then Geometry Modify Topology Delete Hidden. And now you've got a skull that you can use. If you needed to make, let's go ahead and do this. If you needed to make changes to this skull, you can go ahead and you could say you could Dynamesh it, but it's going to make all of these things kind of stick together. So we'll play around with that a little bit, I suppose. So if we wanted to refine this skull a little bit, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Deformation and Unify just to stick it right down into our axis, just right in the middle of our scene here. So if we turn on our floor, well, let's see what's going on here. Draw elevation -1. That's a little bit weird. It should be snapping to the bottom of my head. I have deleted everything. Oh, you know what? I still got other objects in here. What we can also do, since I don't need any of those muscles, I can do delete other. And that way, now this is, if I go to append and I append a cube, you're going to see that this skull is now the size of a ZBrush primitive cube sitting right in the middle of my world. And everything's fine. So if I want to refine the skull a little bit, I think what I might do is, it is separate pieces, so I've got if I hold down Control Shift and just grab a little piece of this top skull and then do Control Shift A. Hey David, thanks for showing up. You'll get the top piece, and then same thing if you do the jaw here. However, these teeth, I mean, one easy way to do this is just hold Control Shift A, and then you can hit Control W, and that'll make its own polygroup. Same thing for this jawbone here. Like we did before, you can also do a auto groups, and anything that's not vert welded will get its own polygroup. But now your teeth are a bunch of different pieces. Easy to fix though. You can go ahead and hold down Control Shift, grab this top piece, grab this bottom piece, hit Control W, and it also looks like you've got a little piece of garbage out there. So what we could do is, hold on just a second. Sorry. To clean out garbage, sometimes it's easy just to grab a little piece of a mesh, invert it, Control drag, little piece of a mesh, and we'll grab little pieces of all these teeth here, invert all this, Control Shift A, and now you see there's just like a little floating piece of geometry. I'm just going to Geometry Modify Topology Delete Hidden. So if I want to refine the skull, I keep talking about it, you can go right into, like, say, Sculptress Pro. So if I go into my clay brush here and we turn on Sculptress Pro and then we start sculpting, you're going to see we can start getting more refined areas. We can hold down Shift and add some detail here. So if you just wanted to refine little areas of this decimated skull, you could use Sculptress Pro for that. If you wanted to just have it all uniform geometry, you could go through and you could Dynamesh it under Geometry Dynamesh. However, like I said before, it is going to, hold on just a second, smooth, stronger. It is going to stick everything together, which is useful if you wanted to do like a game res or something like that. But we want a little bit more flexibility than that. So another way you can go through and just kind of even out this topology and keep what you have going here is we can try and do a ZBrush, and we'll do the same amount of polygons. Adaptive size will turn down a bit, and we'll go ahead. We don't even need to keep groups because anything that's not vertical, it is just going to ZBrush anyways. So this will go through and just give us some new geometry. Now, I don't remember if I had X symmetry turned on or not, but it should work fine. Give that a second. Maybe. And like I said before, there is definitely something going on with my computer yesterday and today. I don't know what the heck is eating up all my resources here, but I seem to be having a hard time. Actually, nothing is eating up my resources. It's just really laggy for some reason. I hate that. I hate that. I hate that so much. All right. Well, anyways, so do have X symmetry turned on, and it should do a decent job, but something is going on with my computer. So let's do a split hidden really quick, and we'll try just ZBrushing this one. It shouldn't be a big ask, but for some reason, my computer is just chugging today. And yesterday. I'm going to have my resource manager open and see if I can find out exactly why. Yeah, nothing's really being used that much, but boy, it's taking a hit somewhere. And it shouldn't take nearly this long to ZBrush. Well, for this demonstration, what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip the whole ZBrush part because something's going on with my computer, but you could ZBrush each of these pieces here. You could use Sculptress Pro and get a refined, let me turn off floor maybe. It shouldn't affect anything. So I'm going to go ahead and merge these things down. You can do that under your subtool merge menu. And then we just need to add a crown to this. If you just did want to do just a really quick, hold down Shift to smooth, and I'm going to turn my Z intensity down, have Sculptress Pro on, and then you can go through here. Actually, we'll turn the Z intensity up just a little bit. We can go through here and we can just add some geometry with Sculptress Pro, and that can get rid of some of this faceting. So crank that up just a little bit. That'll even out the geometry really quickly. Don't have to resort to Dynamesh. Sculptress Pro isn't going to Dynamesh these pieces together. So you can go through here. If you hold down Shift and you turn the intensity down to 0, you can go through and put new geometry on here, and then you can go back up the intensity just a bit, and then you can go through and smooth these out, and then you can go through if you wanted to and just like inflate these back up if you want. So there's our skull. So we just want to put a crown on this thing, and depending on the type of crown you want to put on, you're probably going to want to start with a cylinder. And instead of trying to fit it to this head just yet, what I might do is go ahead and switch out of here. Let's hit Control N, and I'm just going to grab a cylinder 3D, go into Edit mode, make a Polymesh 3D, and then we'll turn on Skin Shader 4 so you can see that a little bit better. And we'll go ahead and take our transform menu over here. and we'll activate symmetry. Now this one I'm going to put on radial symmetry, I think, and this is 32 spans by default. I think that should be okay. So we'll go ahead and turn our radial count on and Y with 32. Enter. So now it'll go all the way around here. And I'm going to go over here to geometry. You could initialize this to whatever spans you want, just down here. Before you hit Make Polymesh 3D, you can initialize a primitive. And then we'll go to geometry, edge loop, delete loops. And now we can make a crown. So I'm going to hold down Control Alt, Shift, or Control Alt, unmask this top. And then we can just move that down. And now we just need to make some sort of crown out of this. If I want to just have a thickness out of this, I can just delete these interior faces, but I can just leave them for now, and we can just try and just sculpt this up. So Q mesh, we'll do a flat island, and we can pull this up, and we can start punching these through if we wanted to. Another easy thing to do if you wanted to just have ZBrush do the heavy lifting is to just go through, and you could even on a poly plane go through and kind of cut the shape you want. But if you wanted to box model this, you could start here. So now we have, let's go ahead and just do a group by normals. We're going to isolate this outside polygroup. We're going to go ahead and hit delete hidden, and then we can just say Q mesh polygroup all. We can pull out some thickness here if we wanted to punch these in. We could do every, what's divisible by 32, 8 maybe. Hold down Alt, push these in, and then we can just do a, we'll do a crease tolerance, crease level of 3, smooth to a 4. It's going to have some pinching on those corners probably, but this could be the start of your crown. And then if you wanted to refine this a little bit here, you could go through and let's do radial count of 16. So now we can get each one of these, and we go in here and we can say slide edge. Now, of course, this is going to slide. Yeah, it's not going to slide to the right here. Let's go back to 8. So we just slide this one end in here. We can slide this end in here. And that could be your crown. If you wanted to stick this on your skull now, you can go to the top here. You can hit Brush, Create Insert Mesh, New. And then we can go back to our head here. And then we can just go ahead and plop that crown right on here. And I like to work with separate subtools here. So I'm going to do split mask points. And then we'll just hit W. And we'll go ahead and this is like kind of an angle. So we'll go ahead and turn X symmetry off, and we can kind of fit it here. To fit it a little bit better, you're going to see my gizmo is still along the axis of this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to straighten this out on the head just a little bit here, and now I can go into, I mean, you could just non-uniformly scale this out, and it could probably work just fine, just kind of eyeballing it. If you wanted a little bit more control over this, you can go into, say, the deformer. And we'll go ahead and just make this super simple. We'll just knock these down to 1, 1, and 1. And then you can hold down Control Alt and then move this here. And then that way it'll kind of just snap right on there. So that'll fit that just right. And that would be probably the easiest way to go through here. And if you wanted to, that's at D for dynamic subdivision on here. We'll say crease level of 2, smooth subdivision of 3. And then if you wanted to go ahead and do a render, we can do BPR. Let's do SPIX of 1, make that go a little bit faster. And if you want to do like maybe more of a stylized render, remember you can go into your render set and you can grab maybe an outline here. Let's see if we can find one that kind of works for kind of a sketchy look. That'll work. And then we can go in here and we can play with these settings. So if we want to, we can say render underneath BPR filters. This one has posterized filter. Let's change out this posterized filter to do a flat shading. So it's a very, very simple look. And then we can go over here to modifiers and we can say number of shaders, maybe 4. And then you can play around with your min and max intensity. You could also add color to this if you wanted to. So you could say, with the crown selected, we could just give that a simple, let's go up here to color, fill object, and then this skull here. Go ahead and just make this, I don't know, kind of bone colored, I guess. There we go. And then we can hit BPR filter. And then I'll go ahead and give this a result. So play around with that. And I'm going to go ahead and go out of edit mode. And the second one was a pair of, just a pair of lips here. So thing about lips is we go out of edit mode here. And we'll say always switch. Hit Control N. If we go into our plane 3D, go into edit mode and make Polymesh 3D, I'm going to go ahead and go into geometry. We're going to turn on the smooth modifier. We're going to divide this up a bit. And we can just draw on this. You can just do it in Photoshop as well if you want to, or go into, what is it, Z plugin. There's a quick sketch mode you can go into really quickly, or somewhere in here also is a, actually a drawing program that's built into ZBrush, but I'm going to keep it simple. So we've got this one selected here. By default, it has white colors in the vertices. We're just going to knock this color down a little bit. We're going to go into our standard brush here. Let's go ahead and we'll clone this off. We'll go into RGB, turn our RGB intensity down, and then we can use this to draw a little bit. And if you want to, if you have your lazy radius cranked up under your stroke menu, yeah, see, there's something going on with my computer. Weird. You can tap L to go out of lazy radius mode, and then you can just go through and you can just draw on it. So on the mouth here, I guess I'm going to have to go slow here. If you have, like, say, a cylinder, your mouth is going to wrap around that cylinder. So here's one corner, here's the other one that's a little bit closer to us, and then it's going to have, you know, 3 parts here. Here's the upper lip and the lower lip. The upper lip is going to overlap that lower lip just a bit on the corners here and on the top, and then that lower lip is going to come out, and then you've got a little bit of depth on this lip here. And that's basically the lips. If you wanted to simplify it even more, I mean, if you want to just do like a side view here, you've got, here's the middle, and you could make an argument for 2 lobes or 3 lobes on the top. You could say like 1, 2, 3 lobes. There's your philtrum, and then like I said before, this would be, this would kind of go down here and go here, and then this would be your lower lip that would tuck into your upper lip, like so. Oh, whoops, I forgot to change my title. Sorry about that. Thank you. So we've got this kind of pair of lips. You could also, you know, so you have it on a cylinder, you can put it on, even on like a little tennis ball if you wanted to, and this is just, you know, when you're drawing ahead or when you're sculpting ahead, you just basically want to make sure you have draft like back down to the corners here. Also, you could do like, you could also simplify it into just, here's a back corner of this mouth and then it wraps around, and then there's a back corner of this mouth here. So if you put a line down the middle, again, you're going to take, and then here's the midline here. So you're going to go down a little bit, which is going to be the overlapping, and then this is going to overlap a little bit on the corners here. And then here's your lower lip, like so. Very wide pair of lips, but at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for. So if we want to, we have, let's go to RGB intensity of 100. If you wanted to like refine this, you could say RGB intensity down a little bit, go back to a white color, do color, fill object, and you just knock that down. Or if you want to erase it completely, just go to color, fill object. Yeah, I think they just updated the title. So now we're at the black color again. There we go. So the whole point of that was just to basically show if we have a head shape in here, we'll go ahead and just draw on, you know, you've got your cranium in here and you've got the midline of your face, and then off of this cranium you're going to have a plane, which is going to be your face here. You've got your hairline, you've got your brow line, you've got your nose line, you've got your chin line. Between your brow and your nose, you've got your ear here, and then you've got your jaw, and then you've got your lips. And again, on this curved area here is going to be your lips. It's going to go from here to here, and then you've got, here's your nose, and then your eye line, And again, your brow, here's your cheekbones wrapping around, and then here's your, again, your chin. Here's your cheekbones this side. So you got your lips, upper lip, and then your lower lip, and then your eyeballs, and then your brow. So in order to get that to work, oh, another thing I wanted to go over is if we wanted to make a crown out of just a shape, you can always wrap it later. So for instance, if we go over here to make Polymesh 3D, and we go turn on the smooth modifier, divide this up, and then we'll say delete lower, and then if I hold down Control Shift, we can go through and I can just kind of slice out the shape of a crown. So I can go like through, I take the bottom off, and then that'll be my middle part here, and then this upper part here. We can actually maybe, we don't turn on X because it's not going to help you any. We could put a couple shapes in here, or we could do Control Shift and then B radius, and then make your brush radius whatever size you want to get both sizes. So we can go through here. Let's make our brush radius a little bit bigger. Here and here. And then we could do a quick Mirin Weld. And then again, we can just slice this without the brush radius. And then we can go through here and be like, okay, I want this to be part of my crown, and this to be all part of my crown if I wanted to, whatever shapes you want. And if that slicing doesn't work for you, you could even, you could simplify this a little bit. We can go through here. Let's go ahead and say, let's go back to our, this here. You can always use ZBrush to do the heavy lifting for you. So you can be, okay, I want the crown band to be like this, and then I want maybe just the front of it to have a little bit of detail, and then in here we can hold down Control and we can do a mask lasso or a mask curve where I want to maybe cut through. And now masking you can do across an axis. So let's tap X symmetry here. Let's say you want this to curve down, so I'll hold down Control and then hold down Alt, and then we can go through here and we can just kind of draw. And let's turn off our line so we can see a little bit better. So you want this, and then we want this to come up a little bit here. And then, I don't know, you could even go through here. You could use shadow box for this as well, but I'm just going to use deformers just to make a complex shape really quick. So let's say this is the shape I want from our crown here. So we're going to go down here. We've deleted lower, so we can go through here and we can do geometry. Brain just went blank here. Geometry, edge loop mask border. That'll give us a fairly decent result here. We can go ahead and delete hidden. If I want to clean this up a little bit more, you can go down here to masking. And where's that at? And then we could do mask our border. And then we could maybe grow that a little bit. Control tap to invert that. And really I just want this piece, these pieces right here kind of cleaned up. So now we can go to polish by features on your deformation menu and just polish that up a little bit. That's just to make ZBrush work a little bit better. Now, of course, with my computer acting the way it is, we'll see if ZBrush is able to run. It's not a ZBrush thing. It's a, I don't know what the hell's going on with my computer thing. We'll say target polygon count of 5 is fine. We'll drop that adaptive size down to 0. And then with our X symmetry turned on, we'll hit ZBrush. Okay, it's not doing too bad. And then that's our result. And then we can just keep hitting half. And then if we want to kind of dictate how sharp these corners are, all you got to do is just go in and help ZBrush out a little bit just by telling it, hey, you know what, make these corners nice and sharp. You can see I'm using the Acu curve under your brush options here to kind of dictate that a little bit better. And then, you know what, we can just leave that soft. And then we'll say ZBrush half again. And then now when it goes through, you'll see it kind of kept those corners a little bit sharper. And again, you can just continue to refine that. But you're letting ZBrush do the heavy lifting for you. So when you go to do maybe bend arc, and you go, let's go ahead and kind of wrap this around to itself. You can just kind of snap that here. And you don't have to go all the way around if you wanted to. If it's like, oh, I just want this front piece and I can figure out the back piece as I go, you can tell it. Let's go. It's maybe like a 35-degree angle. A little bit more than that. Maybe back around here. And then even at this point, you can have ZBrush continue to refine it based on that curve. And then we can go through here and we could say, let's Q-mesh polygroup all. We'll go ahead and give it some thickness. And then if I wanted to meet these areas in the back, one easy way, just do a group by normals and then do a quick Mirin Weld across the X. And then we'll say delete polygroup all. And then we can go ahead and say bridge two holes. Let's do circle. Let's see if that'll work. So we're going to go here. And you can do optimal curvature and optimal resolution and all that stuff. But you can try just kind of dialing that in. And then that way, you can kind of start with just that kind of shape, something like that. Anyway, and then you could do a quick group by normals and another Mirin Weld, and that'll get you started. But back to our lips here. So the whole point of all of that lip stuff is basically to say when you're putting on a pair of lips, you want to make sure it has draft. If you are just going to use this to sculpt over because you want a teeth, you could just start with this skull here, and you could duplicate it off. And like we did when we first started here, is just do a, just Dynamesh this result together. And I'm going to go through here and just inflate around this area here. And then hold down Control-Shift, and we will just trim this, and we'll trim this, and we'll trim this, and we'll trim this. And we'll do a quick Mirin Weld. And then now we have geometry. We have some just gross geometry back here. Let's go ahead and trim that off as well. Although that is going to give us a poor result, let's go ahead and just grab it. Control-Shift-Alt, delete hidden. And then we'll go ahead and Dynamesh this result. And then we've got this geometry. If you wanted to have a little bit, I mean, now at this point, you would literally just go through here with your clay brush and then just start sculpting your lips on here. So go into Trim Dynamic, and then hold down Alt. And just go through here and just start, massing out your face. You could also just start with a just a head that's already kind of done. So if we go into our tool menu here, and maybe it's our project menu. How did this thing get so big? You could start here with like this demo head. Now this is a project, so this is the demo head female. What I'm going to do is I'm going to see if this will work. Let's go to Load Tools from Project. And then we're going to do demo head female. Oh, it does not allow individual locomotives to be loading. Interesting. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll do a quick save, because what we have to do now is go into Project and grab this head, and Z projects are going to wipe this, unfortunately. And cool. Hey everybody, thanks for showing up. Bert says, still working on my Gears of War fan art, and have a hard time creating those perfect patterns. Yeah, if you're talking about like gears specifically, you could use Z Modeler like when we were creating the crown, just to kind of create complex gears, kind of like what you have under the, man, I don't remember making this gigantic, and now I don't know if I can grab that bottom in order, there we go. Where would that be at? Oh, you know what? It wouldn't be in here. It would be under BI, Brush Inserts, Machine Parts here. There should be some gears in there you could also start with if you wanted to. But, so we can still these lips, which should work fine. However, we destroyed our other project. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Save As. And we're just going to throw this into our ZBrush 2019.1 tools. And we'll just have the female head in here, just make it a little bit more usable since I don't have to destroy everything with a Z project that won't load components. So then I can hit the comma key, go to our quick save, and then our last quick save that we did, we can just load that up. And again, I don't know what exactly is going on with my computer, but something. Maybe I need to do a Windows update. And then now we have a female head in our tools folder. In fact, we can hit the comma key now, go to our tools, and then here's the female head. So now I can load a female head Z tool in there without ruining anything. So we can go over here to our skull, and we can go over here to append, and we can grab the female head. And if you want to kind of match these up possibly a little bit better, we can take this female head here, and again, just like we did before, we can go to deformation and hit unify. Well, with her neck on there, it didn't work that great, so we will manually have to go in, and let's turn on transparency without ghost turned on so we can see a little bit better. And if we need to rotate this down to match, maybe. Oh, something like that. So now that we have that, if you really did just want the lip geometry, you could break that out into its own subtool here. Let's see if she's got any geometry. Nope. Subdivision, sorry. So you could take that out. At this point, if you wanted to move these separately, you can go into your move brush. You can use move topological. So BMT and use that. I prefer just to kind of go in here with my move brush and go down here to auto masking. Just turn on topological. Let's turn that range down to like maybe 1.5. And then now we can go through here and we can just kind of move these things around. So in the reference image, it was kind of like, oops, it's kind of like that. And there's also a chip tooth, which you can also add. So you can kind of go through here and we can kind of just add in this kind of look like so. And then kind of sweeps down, and then this we can kind of just pull down just a bit. If these have concentric rings, and it looks like it might, there it is. One thing I can do, I can hold down Control Shift, and we can just grab the select lasso, and I can go around like through here, and now I can do an auto groups, and then we can just take this here, and we can say delete hidden. And now we've got just the lips and the mouth bag. This seems to follow just the lips around this, so what we can do is just hold down again Control Shift. We'll take the select lasso. You can actually go through here and just grab each of these rings. If you hadn't deleted yet, so if we do, let's do redo. You can do Control Shift S to shrink, and you can just kind of shrink along those edge loops as well. So you can kind of just maintain this, and then now we can do a delete hidden. We've got some pieces up here. We can just hold down Alt with our Z modeler brush, BZM, and we can mark these, and then we can say delete polygroup all. There we go. And now we have our lips. If we did want to have give these things thickness and we didn't need a mouth bag, we can also get rid of that. So where these lips kind of come back here, let's see if we can say, I think that'll work here. So we'll do another auto groups, and we'll get rid of that, and we'll say delete hidden. And then I don't like really working with single-sided geo. We can try running a close holes and see how that'll work. Not too good, but we can hold down Control and mask this, and then we'll go and we'll just push this straight back, holding down Control, and at least that'll give us something. We can kind of mush this back here. And this is an asymmetrical sculpt, so if you wanted to sculpt the details of the lips first and then pose it into place, you could do that. And then for this, it looks like in the reference, this is more what you saw. I could even scale this up a little bit here too, and then we still have move topological. So I want to see that chip in that front tooth a little bit more. And then we'll go in here with inflate, or possibly my clay brush. You could turn on topological for any brush that you have. And then now, if we want to chip this front tooth here, let's just do a quick auto groups. I'm going to get rid of this top piece here, this bottom piece here, and we'll say delete hidden. And then even for these teeth, if you don't want to see those, if you're just going to do a front render, we could do a trim. And then we can grab any teeth that we don't want to see or that aren't really affecting the final result. We could grab this one here, 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 here. And then same thing on this side. Invert that, Control-Shift-A, invert that again, and delete hidden. And then now we can just kind of, let's turn on X symmetry, and we'll just kind of mush, oops. Now we have my move topological still on, so it is going to move these tooth by tooth because they're not vert welded. And that's okay. If you don't like that, you can just go into turn that off. And then this tooth right here, we can isolate this, and then we can just go through here with our clip curve. And we can just go through and just kind of chip that tooth off, turn X symmetry off. And again, I wouldn't mind remeshing those teeth and like getting a nice pair of teeth, but again, my computer is busted for whatever reason. So if I hit D for dynamic subdivision, you can see this is our preview of what you would get, or you can just go through here and start making it more dynamic, or I'm sorry, just adding subdivision levels. And you can go through here and you can just detail up these lips. So there's all that. Let's see. So looking at a pattern here. Oh, Cliff Shonwell. I know him. So doing these kind of intertwining patterns here. I would just do that with either an insert mesh brush or even Nanomesh would probably work just fine. So if you wanted to do kind of repeating textures, that would be my go-to. So I would just start with a ring 3D, make polymesh, and then initialize. Let's turn this, I guess that's fine. Coverage is fine. S divides here, we're going to knock these back. Just make it as simple as you possibly can. And actually, you know what, we'll do the coverage a little bit lower because it does look like it is a half ring with like a snakehead on it. So we'll say this is what we're looking for here. We can go ahead and make polymesh 3D. And then this just looks like it's sculpted. So probably I'm going to just knock this resolution down here, blur off, turn on Dynamesh, and then we can go in here with like our inflate. And then our move. And then we can just go through here and we could say, let's go ahead and turn Polyframe off. Give us a snakehead. And we'll go ahead and smooth this here. And then go in here. And we'll just, what does that have? Yeah. Looks like it's on the outside edge. And you could box model this if you wanted to. I'm just playing it fast and loose here. You can hold down Alt. We can just pull out a ridge along the side back here. And then you can kind of, tuck that in if you want to. Again, just using Damien standard here. And then we're just going to go across. And feel free to spend as much or as little time as you'd like with this. You can see my performance is pretty bad on these brushes simply because something's going on. But anyway, we have the overall shape here, so we're going to go through here and we're going to do a quick Z plugin. Decimation master, preprocess current. And then we'll decimate this down to something, let's say 5K. And then we could just use this as an insert mesh brush. So we can go to brush, create insert mesh, new. And then if we grab, say, a cylinder, make polymesh 3D. And we go, hold down Control Shift, and you don't even have to do this part. You could just hold down Shift and it'll snap, but you can go in here to stroke, curve, turn on curve mode. You can even frame that Polygroups border, and then you can just tap that, and then you can go through there, and that'll give you your overlapping guys here. You can go into your brush, curve, no, depth, and you can make sure that this is, let's embed this all the way. So it's kind of half and half, and then maybe not embedded that much, like so. You could also turn this into, you could use array mesh, you could use Nanomesh. Nanomesh might give you a little bit more control over rotations and randomization. So instead of doing all this, let's do that. Let's go down here to stroke, and we'll hit delete, and we'll isolate this, and we'll say delete hidden. And then we're just going to take one of these strips. You could, probably the easiest way is going to select lasso and just grab one, invert it, and delete hidden. So now I've got strips on here. We can go over here to our Nanomesh area. So when we made that brush, we turn on curve mode. We can take this insert mesh brush. We can go over here to brush, create, Nanomesh brush. And then I am going to go in here and say make sure curve mode is off. So that just gave us a new Nanomesh brush with that little snake guy selected. So now we can insert Nanomesh polygroup all. You can go through here, and you can just put that on there. Now if you wanted it to be on like every other one, that's where you go back like what we did when we first started. Go in here to transform and activate symmetry in the Y, and we'll do like 16, and then we'll hold down all, we'll go in here, we'll say polygroup, a single poly, and we'll do every other one, and then we'll go back out of radial symmetry here. In fact, we'll go out of symmetry altogether by typing X, and now we can do insert Nanomesh polygroup all, and we can just put that on there. So now we can go through here, and we can tell it, I want this rotation to be, you know, something more like this. And then all you would have to do is make Nanomesh brushes for this piece here, 1, 2, 3, Nanomesh brush for this, 1, 2, 3. And I think you'd be done. You could also go through here and you could like try and do a windy sculpt, or you can try and, you know, weave these individual pieces. You can make an insert mesh brush. You can start with a Z sphere, and you can try duplicating it around. I'm just taking the ornamental route here, but you could go through here, and once you have this, if you needed to make adjustments, the cool thing, because you are using Nanomesh on a radial array, as long as you don't do any variances, you can go down here and you can say inventory, one to mesh. We can isolate all these. We can say split mask points, split hidden, in case you needed those back. And then when you do turn on X symmetry in the Y with the radial count of 16, now you can go through here. I mean, if you made an array mesh, you could do this as well. You could just do an array mesh and just affect, you know, use an instance of this. But you could go through here now, and you could be like, I want these to be kind of tilted like so, and these heads, I want them to kind of look out a little bit. So I'm going to hold down Control, Alt, and we're going to go ahead and mask that, invert that, hit W, and then we can just kind of twist that out just a little bit like so. But either way, array mesh should also be fairly simple. I guess I can show you that too real quick. Was it this one? Yeah. So we could go in here, and let's go ahead and turn on our floor. And I'm going to say, I guess, array mesh. Let's go ahead and, so this is Z forward. I'm going to go ahead and rotate it like so. Then we're going to say array mesh. Actually, there might be one that we could use. If we go into Lightbox here, I guess we could try one of these. I mean, it's easy enough to set up by yourself. So we could turn on array mesh. We'll go ahead and, I like to use transpose here. So we're going to hit W and then Y. And then I can go through and I can set my pivot. And now I can go down here. Let's say our repeat would be, let's just stick with 16. That's what we did on the other one. And we can go over here to our rotate, and then our Y amount could be 360. And then I'm going to go out of transpose mode, and I'm just going to move this out here. There we go. So now you can go through here and you can rotate this however you wanted, and then if you wanted to make changes on just one, do that, and then your instances will follow. If you, for some reason, you did want to have this converted to a Nanomesh, you can go down here and say convert to Nanomesh, and now these are just going to be polyplanes in an arc that you can then go through here, and you can go into, your Nanomesh properties and go into Edit Mesh. You can make sculpting changes, or you can hit, you can swap this mesh out completely and just update them like that. So kind of up to you. Let's see. Cool. Yeah, so yeah, for any of those type of patterns, just keep those meshes separate. There's no point in trying to sculpt all that. It's just making your life harder. And then, yeah, so this was Cliff Schoenwell's ArtStation page. There. Every tutorial you see, I should use surface noise with the UV turned on so that it has better results. Yeah, I mean, I can show you, let me see. Surface noise. UVs and surface noise. Do I have a decent tiling knurling? Oh, I do that with noise. Actually, I don't do that with. Yeah, I mean, in order for, let me see. So if we take a cylinder 3D here, we go into edit mode and make polymesh 3D, I'm going to go ahead and say group by normals, and then underneath your Z plugin here, we have UV master. We can say unwrap with symmetry with polygroups on, and then flatten. So this is our UVs. So now instead of having it a planar projection in your UV master or your noise, this is what you would get. Of course, you would want to snap these to be square. You know, ZBrush, at the ZBrush Summit, they showed some more UV tools in the works. Not quite there yet. But what we could do to kind of square this out maybe is go over here to masking. We can mask our border. We can invert that mask. Actually, it might be easier just to do this. Hold down Control and Alt. We'll grab all these verts, and we'll hold down Control Shift, and we'll use Clip Curve, and we'll just clip this out to a straight line here. And then this here. And then now we can do a mask border, invert that. No, keep those masked. And then, geez, I don't even know. Maybe a polish by feature just to kind of even these out. Again, not great UVs, but at least squared off. So if we go in here and we say, okay, we can unflatten this. Now we have UVs on this. And so when you go into your surface noise and we go into our noise plug, for instance, you can bring in your own alpha down here and alpha on and off. You can just load in your own. But just for an example, if we go over here to, where's this like a weave? There we go. Weave, and then mix basic noise down to 0. You can see we have 3D turned on. 3D you don't want turned on. You want UV turned on. I assume that's what you mean. And then you're going to take your strength down and your noise scale. Let me see. Oh, plugin scale. So we can turn our weave down. We can take our, like that. Because if you have 3D turned on, it's just going to be a planar projection. So we can do our plugin scale, and you can see it's going to project to the front and then to the side. You can control the planar projection of it, but what you want is to use UV and then your plug-in scale. You can see my UVs got a little bit pinched because they weren't relaxed very nicely, but now you can see it wraps all the way around the object. So not 3D, but UV is what you're looking for. Cool. The masking the root of fiber mesh should be done automatically. That's just one of the features of fiber mesh. So if we have control, and then we go in here to your fiber mesh, wherever that is. Geez, what am I looking for here? It's a tool, fiber mesh. So we can say preview, modifiers. Let's crank up that length. Let's crank down those max fibers. And we'll crank up our coverage here. So this is our fiber mesh. So if we say accept, and you go in here to like say brush groom, groom hair ball, where's that at? See, I don't go in here very often. There it is. So you can go through here and you can start grooming this hair. Let's go in here to skin shader for you so you can see it a little bit better. By default, if you go in here to your brush options, you can see that under brush auto masking, auto mask fiber mesh is turned on. That's just going to say that well, the curve is going to dictate. So right here, your root is fully masked, and then the end is not fully masked. So you can actually change that. So you can see as I'm modifying this fiber mesh, it's leaving the root alone. If you wanted to go into masking, mask by fibers, you can do you can mask your fiber mesh, and that'll go ahead and mask the root here. So if we turn off the line, I guess you can kind of see that these fibers are a little bit small. You can unmask here, but if you do fiber mask, it is going to mask by that fiber mask profile, which is going to be masking the root and then leaving the tip alone. So with your brush settings, it's automatic with auto masking, but if you did want to actually see that mask, if you wanted to like poly paint, just go through here, mask out your roots. We could go here to color, fill object. Let me see if this is, select this, we'll turn off Polyframe here. And we could say, so view that and then invert that, and then we'll say yellow to red. Hold on, color, fill object. Oh, you know what? Turn your RGB intensity up. So color fill object, and then go down here to fiber mask, invert that, and we'll say yellow. There we go. And we can turn off that cylinder since we don't need to see that. So there, mask that. Cool. So that was the two things I needed to go over, and then one more thing I need to do, and hopefully I can do it because just everything is so laggy. Let's go in here to Preferences, Initialize ZBrush. I'm going to make a stylized owl. I've never really made one before, but hopefully I can make some headway with my super laggy computer. Oh, this is kind of a deal breaker. Okay, so, and it's everything too. It's my Google Chrome. Yeah, something's going on. Okay, so for instance, if I wanted to match something, obviously you can just start sculpting the stylized anything. I want to kind of match a specific look, or at least specific proportions. So I'm going to go into my computer slowly, and let's see, streaming, wait for it, jeez, and I'm just going to copy this onto my desktop here. Okay, so we're going to go to Texture, Import, Desktop, this one here, Texture, select it, add it. We're going to drop the size down and the opacity down here. So we'll kind of use these proportions to dictate how this is going to go. So we can go in here with the Sphere 3D, go into Edit Mode, turn on X Symmetry, and we can make this Z forward. I'm going to go ahead and just immediately make Polymesh 3D, and then turn off Blur, crank my resolution down, hit Dynamesh, and so now I can just put a midline right down the middle of this here, and then I can just start creating this. So we're going to go ahead through here, and we're going to thin him out back through here, and we can go ahead and turn our floor off. And then I can hit W, and we can hold down Control and drag out a copy, and I'm going to go ahead and say Split Mask Points, and then we can hit E. We can kind of scale this down a little bit here, and then now we can kind of pull these out, like so. Let's kind of get that overall shape. And then we can push this, so he's kind of leaning back a little bit here. And then once I get this thing kind of lined up, I can go into my movie. Do I have that loaded up in here? No. Go over here to your movie timeline, and we'll go ahead and show it. And we're just going to put a little dot on here, so that way I can keep snapping back to that view. So now we can go through here. Oops. Let's do a quick Mirin Weld. That would help. Got off axis there. So now we can snap back, and now we can say, let's go to Unmesh Mesh Center. We'll and kind of match this. Then we got the body, the chest, the tail, and let's go to Matcat Pearl so we can see a little bit better. And then in here, oh my god, why is this so slow? We'll grab a sphere here, and we'll go ahead and rotate these in and down, and we'll kind of match this up just a bit. That doesn't have to be perfect because I can go through here and I can just kind of start eyeballing this. So if for the beak, I'm going to keep these separate for now. I'm going to go back in here, and we'll just put one beak here, and then we'll hold down Control and drag out another beak here, and we'll just keep those, like I said, we'll just keep those separate for now. Okay, so we'll hit W. Let's go ahead and move multiple, and I'm just going to kind of rotate him back just a little bit here. In fact, let's do this. Let's go ahead and merge everything back down, and I'm just going to quickly do, while it's early, go ahead and do a deformation and unify. And then now we can line this back up. So now because we moved a bunch of stuff, let's go ahead and make sure my midlines match up-ish. And we'll go ahead and drag this off, and we'll put another one on there. So now, I'm going to go into my clay brush here. Let's do a quick auto groups, and then Mirin Weld. So now we have this, and then we go down here to split to group split. Should work fine. So now you have all these pieces here. So now we can click on this one here, and we can go through here, and we can just start sculpting up how this guy needs to look. So it's got kind of a loop that goes through here, and then through here it kind of pinches. So his eyes are actually going to be a little bit closer together. So we'll go ahead and Alt-tap these, kind of, oops, turn off move multiple. Kind of move these in a little bit. And then just go through here and just start massing out our volumes. Let's go ahead and turn off Polyframe here. Go ahead and pull these up, and then he's got like a little chin tuft here. And then he's got little hair, and the eyebrows can always be separate, but again, we're just doing volumes for now, so kind of fluffing out where his feathers would go. And then his body here, I'm going to kind of squeeze him down to just kind of a point here. And then his feet, those can also just be, I guess, a sphere for now. We'll say a sphere 12. And then these we can kind of shrink down. Let's turn on LSIM so we can non-uniformly move these down. And then we'll just kind of put these into place here. And then hold down Control and drag that out. And then we'll go ahead and just take these two and split them off. And then for the tail, you know what? This one we can probably just sculpt in. I'm going to take this and go into Move, and we'll kind of give him just kind of a taper. We can go in here with our Trim Dynamic, and we can taper it down to kind of a flat shape like this. And then his neck, we're just going to kind of merge up into his head, and then his head, we're going to merge down into his neck. And one more time, I'm going to take all this, and I'm just going to rotate him up so he's just a little bit more evened out. And then turn that off. So here he's got this. Let's go ahead and inflate through here. You can use Snake Hook, you can use Move Accu, and that'll kind of give you that kind of flowing. We go in here with clay brush, or actually clay buildup, or clay tubes might work a little bit better. So we can go through here, and let's turn that intensity down. You can kind of go through here, and just you can kind of see that overall flow here, and then up around the eyeballs. We can kind of go through here, and we can. And he looks a little bit more stern, and it maybe would come to a point. So turn the spotlight back on. We'll go ahead and match this up. You may have to have perspective turned back on, and now that we've adjusted his position, we can go through here, and let's go ahead and just kind of match this up again one more time. And let's hit, we'll go ahead and drag this off, turn that back on. Let's hit move multiple. We'll go ahead and grab all of these pieces here. Let's turn off these here. There we go. And kind of just, oop, looks like my eyeballs popped. That's okay. Let's match that up just a little bit. And then turn off move multiple, hit W, Control tap the eyeballs here. Or I'm sorry, Alt tap the eyeballs to select them, and now we can just move those into place a little bit better. And this beak here, and this beak here. Now, depending on what kind of fidelity you wanted with that beak, if you're going to animate this, you can make the beak all one piece and have it just, let's see if I have an example of that, like this, where, you know, the beak is just kind of a shape, and then this is the open shape, and then you could put concentric rings around this. That'd probably give you the most flexibility to make broad sweeping shapes, but if it is just going to be like a like a beak, a hard beak, you could just keep them separate. So I'll leave that up to you. I'm probably going to do one that just puts these together. In order to do that, we're going to have to merge this. So we're going to say, just say my hotkey for merge down, and then now we have this beak merged. So now we can go through here. We have X symmetry turned on. I'm going to hit topological masking, and we're just going to kind of push these together. And this will give us our overall beak. And then we can use ZRemesher. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to Dynamesh this at a higher resolution. I'll go ahead and smooth. So now we have our beak. And I'm kind of jumping the gun here. Ideally, you would want to, you know, get this all sorted out first. But just to kind of show you your options here, let's go ahead and say, well, we'll refine a little bit more before we dive into making that usable, animatable geometry. So here, we're going to kind of pull this forward, and I'm going to Dynamesh this up a little bit higher, a little more fidelity. We're going to take our Damien standard. We're going to kind of pull this kind of chubby cheeks down around him. And again, I apologize for my computer's performance. It shouldn't really be this laggy, and it makes it really painful to sculpt and navigate. I need to find out what's going on. So here we're going to go into Damien standard, and we can kind of just start indicating the flow of this. And we'll go ahead and raise this resolution up just a little bit more. Let's use some clay buildup. And on here you can use Sculptress Pro if you wanted to kind of pull out to those. Let's go to Brush Snake Hook. Yeah, you can turn on Sculptress Pro, and you can go through here and you can start just kind of yanking out these little fuzzy little pieces here. Or if you wanted to kind of break this up. We can also use Nanomesh later, which is probably what I'm going to do, but that'll be a good enough start here. And then we'll go ahead and turn Sculptress Pro off. And then we can go through here and we can just use Dynamesh and Damien Standard. Let's go switch that to Smooth Stronger. All right, and I'm going to squash his head down and kind of just round out this. And I'm also going to take this and I'm going to say Mask, Lasso. I'm going to blur that out. And then I can go through here and I can kind of just start, maybe use Pinch. Kind of round this head out in the back. And on here, we can take these eyeballs as is. We can hit D for dynamic preview, and then we can also put a pupil on there. These things keep snapping back. Let's go to Unmask Mesh Center. Let's turn off local symmetry here. Yeah, okay, everything seems to be working fine. So for these, the beak in particular, let's go through here and let's make sure this is the shapes that we want, because what we can do is we can ZBrush those together and kind of make these all one mesh. I'm going to turn off topological here. So instead of having them separate beak pieces, we're going to go for maximum flexibility on animation, and we're going to attempt to do all one piece here. So I'm going to hold down Alt, and we're going to indicate where I want the bounds for this beak to go. Like here, and then all this can just be a shell. This is just, I'm just looking for volumes right now. So we're going to go into our clay brush here, and we'll just go ahead and fill this out. Like so, and we can even go in here to H polish. We can pull this out. Like so. So this will be my beak volume. And again, we're going to go for something more like this. Now you could ZBrush this into the entire face if you wanted to. You just got to make sure you watch those concentric rings so that when you start doing your blend shapes, it gives you a little bit of a better result. But I think this will work just fine for now. So we'll hit Control W. We're going to hold down Control. And you know what, I guess we could mask lasso this. We're going to go through here, and we're just going to mask lasso right along those bounds that we created. And we're going to let ZBrush do the heavy lifting for us. So we've got this. We're going to hold down Control Alt. We're going to tap this to kind of sharpen that up. And then we'll again go down here to Geometry, Edge Loop Mask Border, isolate this. Delete hidden. We have X symmetry turned on. We're going to ZBrush half, adaptive size down to 0, and just hit ZBrush. And then we'll turn on line so we can see what the results are. And we're just going to keep ZBrushing half. And if we need to clean this up, it's not a huge deal. We can always go, oops, we can always go into Z-sphere topology. And we do have X symmetry turned on. And it should not be taking this long to ZBrush. Sorry, I keep bringing up the fact my computer is hosed. Oh, thanks Creature Brush for showing up. Glad the videos helped out. Hi everybody, sorry if I missed any comments while I've been eyeballing these beaks. So anyway, this is the result I'm getting. So ideally what you're going to have is a concentric ring around here. So we can go ahead and just like move this up. So this would be like one concentric ring, and then you'd want another concentric ring around here. you could probably just get away with this. This could be fine if you're just doing like ZBrush blend shapes for posing for like a 3D print. This is perfectly fine. You can go extrude, polygroup all. You can pull in some thickness here, and you can pull in some thickness here. Just hold down Shift. And then you may have to go through here and kind of finagle some of these points through here. Actually, let's do this. Let's do polish by features, open circle. We'll just kind of polish that beak down just a little bit. So now we could do like maybe a crease polygroup, crease level of 1, smooth subdiv of 2, and that'll just give you a preview. And this is just like an envelope mesh here, so you can very quickly go through and just kind of go in and make whatever shape you're looking for here. This piece here, I'm going to kind of knock this back so you can actually see the mouth here. And then, yeah, so that'll just keep it separate. But like I mentioned before, if you wanted this to be concentric rings, it might be easier just to go through and plot those points with Z-spheres and then just do another ring and another ring, or you could retopologize it in any program you want. But seeing as how we're in ZBrush right now, that'd be the way to go. So I'm going to go through here now, and we're just going to knock these back. I'm going to go in here to transparency and turn on ghost so I can sculpt around this beak and not have it get in my way here. There we go. And like I also mentioned before, if you wanted this beak to be like concentric rings and include this geometry, it'd be a little bit more difficult, but anything's possible. You could go through and do that as well. You would just have to be careful about where you put your edge rings. You could put in polygroups along here, and then when you did your ZRemesh, make sure you just have keep groups turned on and that smooth groups option up to 1. And I think you'd be a-okay. But yeah, as soon as I get off from here, I'm going to see what is up with my computer. Okay, so we got here, we're kind of missing some arms here. If you wanted to match these arms, you could, I guess it's easy enough just to go through here and we could just, I always like to use spheres for some reason. We could go through here and we could say, let's split mask points, so we could shrink these down. Let's turn LSIM back on, so we can shrink around here. And again, anything stylized, you just want to maintain your broad forms here, so you can just kind of move this into place, and then you could like pull this down to an elbow. And then you can even hit D if you want to do like a dynamic subdivision, and then in order to make this other shape here, you could just hold down Control and drag out a copy of that. And then just kind of put this into place here. And we can go ahead and scale this down. This will pull out to an elbow. Now, of course, if you Dynamesh these together right now, you're going to run into an issue of you can't really stretch these wings out. So ideally, you would put this in like an A pose, just to make sure that you have the geometry spans in there that you need, and then you could go through and you could pose this out. But if you're just matching something, you could also just use Z-spheres. So we'll leave this for now. Okay, we got our cute little owl here. Let's go ahead and snap to our camera again and make sure, now that we have a little bit more information, we could go through here and make some minor adjustments. So now here, no, I guess his face is fairly straight on. So his feet down here are a little bit bigger. I'm going to go to Unmask Mesh Center. And again, with LSIM turned on, we can go ahead and scale that up. And we need a little back foot on there as well. And then this here, it looks like his eyeballs are also a wee bit bigger, like so. Also, maybe push back a little bit more and even closer in. And then again, we'll turn on transparency and ghost here, so you can see a little bit better. Oh, we'll go ahead and turn that off. It's actually trying to sculpt through, so that's another good point as well. If you wanted to, once you have all this stuff dialed in, you can just paint the resulting geometry in here. So we go into standard brush, turn on RGB. You can just go through here and you can just paint on here. so you can make sure you're matching up all your features. In this case, I'm not trying to match it exactly, so not overly interesting to me, but we'll keep trying to make this work here. So we'll turn off transparency. Now, when you put meshes together and then you try to separate them, sometimes they'll be sticky. You may have to delete one and then move it apart in the new Mirin Weld. This one seems to be doing a-okay, so I'm just going to move those so they're just not touching at least. And then we'll put that through here, and then we'll go ahead and knock this back so he's got a little thing here. And then now at this point, again, it wouldn't be nearly so bad if my computer was responsive, but it just now it's just a matter of going through and doing your sculpting. So you can go through here and just keep refining your volumes and you know, all that good stuff. But since my computer is chugging, I might call it a day. Creature Brush just started 3D printing my own sculpts. Having any trouble just exporting my sculpt to simplify 3D topology. I understand you should fix it and minimize the amount of points, but it doesn't seem to be a problem. Any thoughts? I mean, you don't have to, if it prints fine, you don't have to do anything really. It's really just a matter of, you know, performance or the amount of, if you had any printing errors, or if you're sending it to a print shop, if they expect a certain output, then you would have to be a little bit more frugal with your points or make sure you have a perfect envelope. A lot of 3D printing software will just ensure that you do have that. Just a matter of how much control you want, really. But yeah, if you're not having any problems with your 3D print, then yeah, you know, don't waste your time cleaning up stuff if you don't need to, I suppose. But it's probably good to get in the habit of working clean, just in case you run into that one situation where it's like, oh, I have an emergency, I need to have this thing work, and all of a sudden I can't get this done because, let's go ahead and turn ZBrush back on for my standard brush there, because something got busted. Yeah, see, this is literally, I am just dying over here. It's hard for me to sculpt on a laggy computer. So I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to see what is going on with this. Anyway, hopefully the techniques are there, but watching me sculpt's going to be painful. Watching me and then also me having to do it. So I will say goodbye to you guys. I'm going to be streaming on my channel this Thursday. I'll follow up on this if I can get my computer working back. So we'll say Thursday, same bat time on my Pav mic. Yeah, and it's been lagging. I did a bunch of computer software updates yesterday, and it just seems to be something's hanging on in the background. So I'll figure it out. Thanks everybody. For the next stream, I'm just gonna I'll see if I can finish this out. We'll do some Nanomesh. We'll make it look really nice, and maybe do some poses with it. So with some layers, we can go through and animate his face a little bit and get some really interesting poses. That's the plan anyway. We'll see how it goes. So, alrighty. Thanks everybody. Sorry about the software issue. I can use my laptop. Worst case scenario, but we'll see if I can.